Hi there. So we may have a couple more people joining us in the next 5 to 10 minutes or so, but I am going to go ahead and get us started tonight. Um, Welcome to Thursday night Yin class. My name is Kim, and this is Tails. He will probably be joining for part of the class just because I was away for work for part of the day, and so he's a little extra clingy. And so if you have pets joining you, enjoy that and try and see that as them joining part of your rest, recovery, and healing rather than them invading your space. Animals intuitively sense when we are doing self-care things, I think, and when we need that. And so welcome them into that space if that's comfortable for you. And so, yeah, for tonight's class, we're going to go through a series of 7 poses. As before, if you've joined a class with me, these classes are all seated, grounded, or lying down poses. And if you have props that you use during your own yoga practice, such as a bolster and blocks, go ahead and have those nearby. If you don't and you have access to couch pillows, bed pillows, and or thick towels or blankets that you can roll up to use as cushioning, go ahead and grab those and have those nearby. I will offer many different modifications for poses, and Yin practices are designed to be restorative and relaxing, but also designed to get deep into some of our deeper body tissues. And so I will give you options that are more restorative, that are less of the stretching and more of just the taking space, relaxing, and resting. But Yin practice is typically designed to be restful and restorative, but also deep stretching. And so, as with any Yin practice, you might notice that you feel like you're pushing yourself to a limit. I encourage you not to push yourself to a limit. If you think of your limit as a 10 and you want to push yourself, try and push yourself only to about a 6 or a 7. But if tonight you need a 3, take a 3. This class is your time for the next about an hour that we have together. So use it as you need to. If you have any questions, I'll be on for about 10 minutes after class tonight to answer any questions or talk through anything that comes up for you. And the other thing I encourage you is just if you have emotional or other sensations come up throughout this class tonight and you want to take time to sit with those while you're in the poses, take that time. I will guide us through the poses, but you, of course, are welcome to stay longer than I guide you through and spend time with yourself. And I also always encourage folks to journal or consider journaling after class if things came up for you. Our bodies can hold a lot of emotions that we maybe don't realize we have or we want to not have. But something that often comes back to me through Yin practice is that if we don't work through it, it comes back. And what we resist persists. And if we aren't processing through that, our bodies will hold that in the form of tension or other types of health concerns. So wherever you find yourself, go ahead and find yourself in a comfortable seat. If you would like to lay down, you are welcome to, but I'm going to guide us through just about a 5-minute meditation while we're seated, just to ground, center ourselves, and get ourselves here. We each had different things that we might have been doing before this, and we might have different things that we need to do after this. But for the next 55 minutes, we're spending time in this space, in this time, and with ourselves and our breath. So find yourself in a comfortable seated position. I'll be sitting cross-legged with my hands just casually placed on my knees. You're welcome to have your hands face up or face down, whichever feels most intuitive to you right now in this moment. And if it feels comfortable for you, go ahead and close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, go ahead and begin to, on your next inhale or two, notice what your breath feels like. And whatever that means for you, go with it. Whether that means noticing what it physically feels like to take an inhale and where that feels like it goes in your body, or if it means noticing what the temperature of the air is, or noticing if you maybe are having any allergy issues or things today, what it feels like to try and take a deep breath through your nose. And over the next couple breaths, I want to encourage you to follow that breath and see where it goes in your body and see how deeply you can feel that. And one way we can do this is thinking about our breath as a 3-part deep breath. So as we inhale through our nose, our breath will come in through our nostrils, go down our throat, into our chest, filling up our lungs, and maybe our belly expands on a deep inhale. And just hold that for a moment. And exhale even more slowly than you inhaled, allowing your belly to deflate, your lungs to empty out. and maybe your chest to sink with your shoulders dropping away from your ears a little bit. And continue to breathe in this manner, noticing your deep inhale going on maybe all the way down into your belly as it expands. Maybe as you continue taking this breath more, you notice what it feels like on your sides or in your back, lower back, mid back, and upper back. But just begin to really feel yourself feeling full of a breath. And on each exhale, imagine that you can let something from your day or your week or your month go. We're only a few days into this month, but many of us sometimes can start our month with ideas of things we want to do, and sometimes things get in the way of that. So see if on an exhale tonight, you can let something that's in your way go. Whether that be a criticism of yourself, a fear about how something may or may not turn out, or just your mind getting in the way and thinking up all kinds of scenarios. Let something go and just be here with your breath in these moments, in these poses tonight. And continue breathing in this way for a couple more minutes. And if you prefer not to be thinking at all, and just to be visualizing and focusing on your breath, maybe you want to inhale your favorite color and imagine that your body is filling up with that color, becoming more vibrant. And as you exhale, it's just recycling that out, taking out anything that doesn't need to be there, bringing back in new vibrance, bright, favorite color of yours, filling you with that, and exhaling, letting it go. Whatever you need tonight is what you'll find tonight. Whatever you think you need might be what you find. Just be with yourself and your breath. This is our first pose, essentially, of making it to the mat, making it to this time for yourself. So just say thank you to yourself. And take 3 more breaths on your own in any manner that makes sense to you. And once you've taken those 3 breaths, I want us to just do a couple neck stretches. At the end of, if this is the end of your day, you might have been holding on to things throughout the day, through your work, or just through whatever you did. And sometimes that can be held in our necks and our neck and our shoulders. So I'm just going to invite you to drop your right ear towards your right shoulder. Your neck pops a little bit as you do that. And take 3 breaths, just really feeling into the left side of your neck. Noticing if it feels tense. Noticing if this feels easy or challenging for you. And just being with that and seeing if you can just let your head hang there. And once you've done that, just begin to look down at your right shoulder. And drop your chin and just trace your chin halfway across your chest to where you're just looking straight down, maybe at the floor below you, or looking inward at your navel. And just feel across the back of your neck, tops of your shoulders. Noticing what it feels like to let your head just dangle like this. Noticing just how wide this back part of your neck can feel. And then once you've gotten what you need there, just go ahead and continue tracing your chin across your chest where you're looking at your left shoulder now. Shift your head and have your left ear drop towards your left shoulder. Notice what the right side of your neck feels like. And then continuing that circle, looking up towards the ceiling, dropping your head back this time, opening up the front part of your neck, the front part of your chest. And then for the next minute or so, go ahead and take some neck rolls or drop your head to one side or the other that needed a little bit more attention from you. And if you would like to have more than a minute of this, I encourage you to try this again each day, noticing into your neck, noticing into the tension, and see if that allows you to feel less tension in your neck at the end of the day as you notice it throughout the day. Just seeing where you've been holding things, trying to remove your shoulders from up by your ears, let them drop. If you want to put your hands out to the side on the floor, and as you drop one ear to one shoulder, see if that elongates the stretch at all. And then once you've gotten what you need from this pose, we'll move into our first Yin pose together, which will be reclined bound angle. And to move into this pose, whether you have a bolster or pillows, go ahead and grab that and place it perpendicular on your mat, so lengthwise. And we're going to be shifting and so that our lower back is against this prop. If you would like to prop it up with a block or something so that it's at more of an angle rather than just flat on your mat, that's one way to do this pose. But go ahead and shift so where your lower back is against the bolster. You can stay with your legs seated in a cross-legged position, or you can bring them into butterfly with the soles of the feet touching, or stretch them out in front of you. And from here, we'll just take a deep inhale all the way down to our belly. And as we exhale, we'll place our hands on either side of our hips, walk them back, and just allow the back side of our body to drape across these pillows or this bolster. Just take a couple moments to settle in here, adjusting how you'd like your legs to be. Noticing how it feels open across your chest. Noticing what it feels like to drape your arms down by your side, palms up or palms down. Or maybe you like to place them on your body and your belly to come back to feeling into that deep breath as your belly rises and falls. But go ahead and fidget and wiggle around in any way that you need to get yourself comfortable. We'll be in this pose and most of our poses for 3 to 5 minutes. So allow yourself to just settle in, closing your eyes if that's comfortable for you. Just focusing on your breath, focusing on yourself and your body, and just being here for these moments and letting the poses bring up what they may. And just ride the wave of those emotions, that breath, and that sensation. Letting something go as you exhale from your day, and sighing out your mouth. Just letting yourself be supported by everything underneath you. You don't need to be doing any work right now. You have an eye pillow and you work all day on a computer screen, maybe you would like to place that over your eyes just to give them a little bit of extra rest. Coming back to your breath if you ever find yourself thinking or wondering or worrying. Reminding yourself that you have this time to just be. There's nothing to do, nothing to figure out. Just be with yourself, taking care of yourself. Go ahead and take 2 more deep breaths here. And that second breath, begin to imagine yourself moving out of this pose before you actually begin moving. Visualizing pressing your elbows into the mat and your hands, and guiding yourself back up to a seat. And then once you're ready, go ahead and do that, guiding yourself back up. We're just going to flip ourselves around so that we are facing the props that are in front of us. And shift onto our hands and knees into a tabletop position with our knees underneath our hips and our hands underneath our shoulders. We're going to flow through a couple cat-cows before we come into a child's pose with this prop in front of us as a support. And so in cat-cow, what we'll do is we'll just drop our belly and lift our head as we inhale, looking up to the ceiling. And as we exhale, pressing our hands onto the mat, dropping our head, lifting our spine, arching our spine. Just 3 more times. Inhaling, looking up to the ceiling. Exhaling, looking down, more internal. This is just to really wake up and move anything in our spine that needs to move, whether that be physical tension, energetic tension, or just getting things flowing again. And this can stir up throughout the day and they can settle as well. So we're going to keep things flowing. And once you feel complete with that, go ahead and I'll guide us through a wide-legged child's pose with the support in front of us. And so we'll just bring our big toes together and spread our knees out wide. And go ahead and adjust the prop. If you have it propped up in a ramp-like position, maybe you want to take out that block underneath it. And just situate the pillow or the bolster between your knees, having your big toes touch. And then we'll just guide our hands out in front of us so that our entire front body and our entire chest can just drape itself over this. In traditional child's pose, we're also reaching a little bit farther to feel that stretch across our sides and our back. And you're welcome, of course, to do that. But for this pose tonight, we'll just allow ourselves to drape over this prop. Now let us know when it's been about halfway through the time in this pose if you'd like to plant one ear on the prop and then switch halfway through. You're welcome to do that. Or if you'd like to just look face down and plant your forehead on that prop or the mat. You want to really feel into what it feels like to put a little bit of pressure on that third eye space. And really just think about what it is that brought you here to this class, to this time. What were you hoping for? What are you needing? And how can you give yourself that through taking this time to breathe and be with yourself and your body? You have the power to give yourself what you need. Just need to access it. Just settling in, letting things go with your exhale, and just being with yourself. And we're about halfway through, so if you have one ear or side of your face down and you'd like to rotate to the other, go ahead and on your next breath do so. And just settle back in. And go ahead and come back to your breath and taking 3 more breaths in this pose. And you want to stretch out your hands a little bit farther and feel what that feels like in your back. And notice where your breath goes down the back side of your body in these final 2 breaths in this pose. And when you're ready, plant your hands, press yourself back up into that tabletop position. You can shift this prop to the side or to the top of your mat. You might want to use it in other poses, but you don't need it. Coming back to tabletop position, moving through cat-cow a few times, maybe 3 or 4 times. Maybe this time you also want to add in kind of wagging the tail, shifting your hips side to side, looking over one shoulder to the opposite hip. Noticing what that feels like. Your side body, your spine, your hips. When you feel ready, we're going to shift into Pigeon Pose. And this is a 2-sided pose. That's one of our most intense poses of the evening. And so know that if this feels intense, this is probably the most sensation that you'll feel. But it's also a pose that really can get into a lot of deeply stored things emotionally and physically in our bodies. So if you'd like to come into this from downward facing dog, you're of course welcome to, but I won't be guiding us through an inversion tonight. And so to get here from our tabletop position, we'll start with our left leg forward. So you'll just lift up your left knee, guide it towards your left wrist, and swing open that leg just a little bit so that your ankle comes towards your right wrist. It doesn't need to be at a 90-degree angle. That's not accessible for most people, and stretch doesn't focus on that part of our body, so it's okay. And then tucking your back toes, inching your leg back a little bit so that you feel sensation across the front of your right hip. And if you feel uncomfortable in such a way that this feels like it will not at all be relaxing, and your left hip is kind of floating in the air, maybe you want to place a pillow or a block or something underneath it so that it doesn't feel like it's dangling there. And then pressing your hands into the mat, maybe you want to take an inhale and look up to the ceiling, stretch out the front of your neck. And you're welcome to have that prop in front of you if you'd like to rest back over that, similar to child's pose. Or you can just come down onto forearms, and maybe onto pressing your forehead into the mat if you'd like to. Just allow yourself to drape over that front leg. The targets that we're feeling into here are our left hip in full and the front of our right hip. If you feel pain at all, please change what you're doing. Please do not take this pose if it's painful for you in any way, but feeling sensation is part of the yin practice. If you'd like an alternative option, you're welcome to try figure 4 on your back, which you'll just come back up to a sitting position with your knees up towards the ceiling, lie down on your back, and you'll lift up your left leg and cross your ankle over your opposite right knee. And then maybe you'll reach through and grab onto that leg and pull it in closer to you to deepen that stretch. It'll offer you many of the same sensations as Pigeon Pose, but without some of the pain or discomfort that you might feel if that's what your body needs. Again, another thing I remind everyone is that any version of the pose is a pose. Choosing to take time for yourself and your healing and your body and your restoration is the biggest step and the most intentional piece. Do what your body needs and don't force it into anything it doesn't want to do. I encourage you to stretch yourself, but I don't encourage you to hurt yourself. Just settle in. See if you can let something go with an exhale. You're going to drop your head. Feel that stretch across the back of your neck. You can lie yourself down and fully be supported by the ground and the props you have involved. And taking 3 more breaths on the side. And feeling and imagining in your mind, you can breathe your breath all the way down into that hip. And as you exhale, release anything that feels like it's holding or straining that's ready to release. And once you feel ready, coming back to your forearms, palms, pressing yourself up, tucking that back toe underneath. And then finding your way back to that tabletop position, so pressing in to the mat. Bring your knees back under your hips, or downward dog if that's the transition that you prefer. And then from here, just either walk out your dog or sway your hips side to side, do cat-cows. Just notice anything that feels different on each side. Notice what it feels like to have stretched and opened up your hips a little bit. And then just move into the right side. So lifting up our right knee, moving it towards the right wrist. Swinging open that ankle towards the opposite wrist. Shifting our left leg back in space a little bit. And remembering that although our bodies may look the same on each side, we are not truly symmetrical beings, and you might need something different on this side. Don't judge yourself. Don't expect yourself to be exactly the same in every pose, on every side, every time. You are a different person. You have unique attributes, and your body does as well. So allow it to have what it needs. Allow it to go where it needs to go, and use your breath as a guide to open up any places that feel tight or tense. Deepening that breath, imagining it, releasing that tension. Just settling in on this side. The second side of Pigeon Pose. As we're in these deep hip openers, just be with yourself. Hip opening stretches can sometimes bring up a lot of emotions, either in the moment or over the next few days. So if you find yourself feeling like something was stirred up tonight, maybe explore that a little bit in a way that feels comfortable and safe. It also feels exploratory for you. We grow from what we go through. And although that's not 100% applicable to 100% of the situations we find ourselves in, there's oftentimes things we can learn from the things that we try and resist, or the patterns that we keep finding ourselves in. So ask yourself, what do you need to learn from anything in life right now? What is something or someone trying to teach you? And where can you lean into that a little bit more? Coming back to your breath if you find yourself distracted, getting too into your mind. Just focus on breathing. Maybe you want to try counting your breath. Counting with the hand to a count of 4 or 5. And exhaling to a count of 6 or 7. Just trying to make your exhale longer than your inhales. Allowing your nervous system to just relax. Reset. Reground. Take one more breath, imagining yourself coming out of this pose, and then on the next breath, go ahead and move out of this pose back into tabletop position just briefly. Pressing your hands into the mat, tucking your back toe, reaching it forward, and then lifting up that front knee. If you like downward dog as a transition, go ahead and come through that. Then find yourself in a tabletop position momentarily, shifting your hips side to side, letting anything snap, crackle, or pop that it needs to. Moving through cat-cow if your body needs that. And then come on down onto your belly. So stretching your legs out behind you, coming down onto forearms. And we'll just spend a few moments in Sphinx pose. And the way that we sit in Sphinx pose or lie in Sphinx pose is having our elbows underneath our shoulders so that our arms are kind of at a 90-degree angle, planting our forearms, palms down. Making sure that if we were to kind of bring our palms in, that they could grab opposite elbows. That's about the arm position. And then just taking a moment to decide what you need here. If you need a more active pose, you're welcome to just keep pressing your elbows and your forearms into the mat and looking forward ahead. Untucking your back toes, letting them settle. Maybe you want to feel this across your back. If you'd like to just rest and release, maybe you want to drop your chin to your chest. Looking down, allowing your head to just hang between your shoulder blades. Not holding it up, just allowing your shoulder blades to be a hammer where your head and your heart can just relax and release between them. Maybe in this pose, you feel the back side of your neck lengthening out. Just imagine that you can pour out anything that's been stressful in your mind out the top of your head if you've chosen this releasing pose. There's just an opening at the top of your mind and out of the crown of your head. You can just let anything that you don't need to be focusing on go. If you need it later, you'll know where to find it. Just let something go. Let yourself be held by yourself and your breath. Taking 3 more intentional breaths here. You have your head lifted, looking forward. Maybe you want to try dropping it for a moment. If you have it dropped, maybe you'd like to try lifting it and just looking forward with your eyes open or closed. Feeling what it feels like to take an inhale and imagining that is energetically traveling down the length of your spine to your lower back, to your tailbone. And as you exhale, it's coming back up, sending a charge of energy up your spine, and your tailbone and your root chakra area, up through your crown, top of your head. And then on your next exhale, just release your arms from underneath yourself and come into Alligator Pose, which is just lying flat on our bellies with our palms stacked in front of us and just pressing our forehead into our palms. And it doesn't matter which hand is on top. And from here, we'll just bend our knees, when we windshield wiper our legs a little bit, side to side, our knees kicked in towards our back. This is just releasing our lower back, our head dropped. And you can choose to either leave your legs curled in or drape them back out. We'll just be here for about a minute, resetting before we move into our next postures. They'll be more open, heart opening, face up positions. So just let yourself be here, face down, supported, breathing into the mat, feeling your breath in your back side of your body this time. And once you feel complete here, go ahead and just drop your feet if you haven't kicked into. Press yourself into a tabletop position again, just enough to come back to where you're sitting back on your feet with your knees underneath you. And from here, we'll have 2 different options. We'll either move into saddle pose or fish pose. Both of these will utilize props if you have them. So if you have blocks, you'll need those for fish pose. If you have a bolster, you might want that for saddle pose. And so I'll cue us through saddle pose first. And what you'll do is you'll just bring that bolster behind you, similar to our very first pose, but we're going to be doing something a little bit differently. And for saddle pose, we'll just shift to where we can sit between our heels. And so we'll have both of our knees bent underneath us. Our seat is between our heels on the mat. And then similar to a recline bound angle, we will just walk our hands on each side of us, walk ourselves backwards, and allow ourselves to just drape fully over that prop behind us. And you'll feel this stretch across the front side of your legs. You'll feel a stretch in your knees, but if you feel any pain in your knees, you're welcome to try fish pose, which is also a deeper heart opener. And in order to get into that pose, what you'll do is not have the bolster behind you, but you'll have the two blocks behind you if you have those. And you'll plant one where your head will be and one where your shoulder blades will be. And you don't need to have your knees underneath you for this. And so you're welcome to bring your feet out from under you into a butterfly position or straight out in front of you. But you'll just slowly lie yourself back over these blocks, allowing the first one, like I mentioned, to come right underneath your shoulder blades. And the second one will catch your head. And for either position that you're in, you can have your arms out to the sides, over your head, down at your sides or on your belly, wherever feels most comfortable for you, maybe with your partner joining you. And wherever you are, just settling in somewhere you can be for about 3 minutes or so. If you have your arms in one position and you'd like to try something different, go ahead and adjust as you'd like. And wherever you are, taking 3 more breaths, really feeling into what that feels like to have your chest open, and your hips feel open in saddle pose. And after that third breath, go ahead and just bring your hands up so that they're pointing towards the ceiling. We're just going to shift our shoulders a little bit. And so our hands are pointing up to the ceiling, and I'm just going to invite you as you inhale to reach your hands towards the ceiling and see what that feels like. And as you exhale, bring them back down into your shoulder sockets. Notice what that feels like in your back. Do it 2 more times on your own. Inhaling, reaching towards the ceiling. Exhaling, drawing them back down. And inhaling up to the ceiling. And on an exhale this time, just bring your hands back onto your body or to your sides. We'll just slowly come out of this pose just enough so that we can find ourselves lying flat on our back. So if you're in fish pose, that might mean pressing in with your elbows, lifting up to bring the blocks out from under you. In saddle pose, you might come up all the way so that you can get your legs out from under yourself and bend your knees, straighten them out in front of you. And then just lie on your back and bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a hug. Curling yourself in for a moment, maybe rocking side to side, feeling what that feels like on your back, especially your lower back. You want to rock forwards and backwards if that's something that your spine would enjoy. And then just planting your hands on your knees, doing a couple knee circles, counterclockwise, tracing a circle in the ceiling a couple times. And then making sure we do everything that we do on one side on the other to balance out everything. So shifting to clockwise circles a little bit more. And then our next pose that we're going to be in will be crescent moon pose or banana asana pose. And so just go ahead and give yourself a big squeeze one more time, pulling your knees into your chest. And then on an exhale, just lengthen out your legs out straight in front of you and stretch your arms up over your head. And before we shift into this two-sided pose, we'll come into Lightsaber Pose momentarily, which is an informally named pose by me. But what it is you're just stretching your feet and your fingertips as far away from each other as they can. So imagining that you can shoot light out from the bottoms of your feet, the tops of your fingertips, stretching out your entire body. And then exhaling, just sighing, letting it all go, settling into the mat. We're just going to lift up our right leg and bring it to the right side of our mat. Lift up our left leg and bring it alongside it. Leaving our hips and our shoulders where they are. And doing the same with our arms. Bring our right arm to the right side of the mat and the left arm following it. Maybe you want to try crossing one ankle over the other. Doesn't matter which, just do what works for you. See which sensation feels more enjoyable tonight. And grabbing one wrist with the opposite wrist above your head. Just really breathe into the entire left side of your body, all the way down from your fingertips, tracing a line down the side of your body, down your ribs, down your side, across your hip, maybe down that left IT band, across your knee, all the way down to your left toes. And then as you exhale, tracing that back up your body, the side of your leg, across your left hip, your left side, your left ribs. And then exhaling out your mouth, sighing that out. Just finding a breath pattern that works for you for the next couple minutes as we stretch out the left side of our body. And then space up, heart opening, chest opening. Pose that allows energy to fully circulate all the way up and down the side of our body. Just notice what it feels like to be this open. Maybe it feels incredibly comfortable. Maybe it feels incredibly vulnerable. Maybe those are one and the same for you. Just be here with yourself. Taking 3 more breaths on this side. Stretching out that entire left side of the body. If you cross one ankle over, maybe you like to try momentarily shifting to the other. And then when you're ready, uncrossing your ankles, letting go of your wrists, and bringing one leg at a time back to center. Moving through that lightsaber, full body stretch one more time. Before we move to the other side, inhaling, stretching all the way from your fingertips to your toes. And exhaling, letting it go. This time lifting up our left leg, moving it to the left side of the mat. Lifting up the right leg, following it. Same with the arms, left arm, then right arm. If you'd like to try crossing an ankle, go ahead and do that. Just settling into this on the right side. This time imagining drawing an energetic line with your breath down from your right fingertips all the way to your right toes. Crossing through our chest, our lungs, across our right hip, down our IT band, across the knee, down into the ankle and the foot to the toes, and then tracing all the way back up, exhaling out your mouth to let yourself settle into this pose on this side, asking your body what it needs and giving it what it needs, the power of your breath, the power of pausing, focusing on your breath. Exhaling, letting your body sink farther into the mat, be supported by the space underneath you. Nothing to do, nothing to hold. Just let it all go. And go ahead and taking another breath, getting ready to move out of this pose into our final pose, which will be a twist on each side. And uncrossing your ankles, letting go of your wrists. Bringing your legs back to center slowly. With the right leg first and then the left. Moving through that lightsaber stretch pose one more time if you'd like. And bringing your knees back into your chest. Just a moment. Curling them in. Noticing this opposite sensation of being stretched out to being curled in. And we're just going to shift into a twist. You can do this either by just dropping your knees from one side to the other, or you might want to try an twisted leg twist, eagle leg twist, where you will lift up your right leg, cross it over your left, and then drop both knees over to the left side of your mat. No need to cross your legs unless you would like that. It just adds some intensity to the stretch across various points of our body. Just drop your knees to the left side of your mat, either legs crossed or just knees stacked on each other. Add a prop underneath if you need it to catch them. Just try and keep both shoulders on the ground, chest pointed up to the ceiling. Just let yourself sink in. Imagine that this is the final ring out of anything that's stuck. Getting that final water out of a washcloth before we hang it up. Letting go of anything else that we don't need to be carrying on with us. Go ahead and taking 5 more breaths on the side with your legs strapped to the left. Letting something else go on each exhale. Maybe it's twisting a little bit deeper just for these 5 breaths, if you'd like to. And then if you have your legs crossed, go ahead and uncross them before bringing them back up to center. And then on inhale breath, unwind, bringing your knees back up to the center, curling them in if you'd like to, or just to release our psoas and pelvic floor muscles, moving our feet to the edges of our mat and letting our knees drop into the center for just a moment. Taking 3 breaths here. And bringing your feet back together. If you'd like to try that cross-legged twist, go ahead and lifting your right foot, lifting up your left, crossing it over. And then this time we'll drop our knees to the right side of our mat. Again, no 2 sides, no 2 moments, no 2 yoga classes will ever be the exact same body. So add props as you need to catch your knees. Keeping your shoulders pointed and your chest pointed up towards the ceiling. Wiggling around any way that you need to settle yourself for a couple minutes. And settling into this final pose before Shavasana. Bringing out anything else from your spine. Coming back to what brought you here and what you needed tonight, and seeing if you haven't gotten what you needed, can you get it in this last pose? If not, that's okay. Maybe you got something else instead. Taking 3 more breaths on this side in this final pose before we come into a 5-minute Shavasana together, just at the top of the hour. Taking these final 3 breaths, but you need them to be before you just finish up to Shavasana, and there's nothing to do except rest and let everything soak in. Maybe your Shavasana carries you right into sleep, and your nervous system becoming relaxed. And then crossing your legs if you have them crossed before we move them back up to the center. Lifting your knees up to the center, to the sky. And then making any final movements that you would like to before Shavasana. Grabbing a blanket or an eye pillow if you'd like to have that with you. Or just stretching your body out. Letting everything just lay as it would like to. Arms wherever you would like them to be, whether that be on your body, next to your body, on your pet, or on props. You have nothing to do, nothing to think about, nothing to focus on. Just let yourself be here and let everything integrate and soak in. Wash over you like a wave. In a few minutes, I'll guide us into a final breath together. Just be here now with yourself and your breath. You've made it. You can exhale and let fully go. And coming back to the space, beginning to remember where you are. Remember what the room looks like that you're in. You wiggling your fingers and your toes. And rolling your head side to side, feeling the sensation underneath the back of your head. On your own time, go ahead and roll over to one side, curling up into the fetal position if that's comfortable for you for a moment. Taking a breath. And then pressing yourself up to a comfortable seat, coming back to right where we started. Cross-legged, our spine up tall. And we'll just take one final breath together once we're all seated. Go ahead and place your hands where you would like them, maybe on your knees, maybe palms together at your heart center, or maybe one hand on your heart and the other on top. And just take an inhale breath, breathing in anything else that you need in your body through your breath. And exhaling, just realizing that you took this hour for yourself, thanking yourself, and bowing to yourself. And thank you for taking this time with me this evening and Tails to join us moving around, moving through energy and just resting and recovering. from all that life has for us. Hope that you have a great night. I'll be here for about 5 or 10 minutes if you need to chat.